Hi, Homeworthy. Thank you so much for coming all this way to visit me here at my home in the Cotswolds. I'm Sarah Kirk, and this is our cottage. Come on in and I'll show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Sarah Kirk. I am a mother and a homemaker, and welcome to my home in the Cotswolds. My husband and I met in London, got married in the US, and had a decision to make: either move to the countryside to start our family or move to America for a few years. And we always agreed that when our children started school, primary school, reception, that we would relocate back to England. And we did. We followed through. When our oldest was ready to start school, we returned back and settled here in the Cotswolds. The original house is a period Cotswold stone cottage, but it's been built on twice, so it has two later additions in its history, and we're not really sure when those were. It has a very interesting, kind of bizarre floor plan because of the way it was designed over time. So there's lots of little dips where you have to duck your head and lots of little corners to go around, and some of the rooms are all joined up. So it's a very untraditional floor plan. Right, so this is the sitting room. This is the main living space in our home. This is where we mostly are. And yeah, it's a lovely room. This is from part of the old part of the home. It's got the fireplace with a wood-burning stove, which is always on in the warmer winter months. And yeah, there's just lots of little places to sit down, read a book, play Lego, drag your toys out, and play. This fireplace fender seat we got from Eddie's parents, and I had it upholstered, and this is a lovely place to just sit by the fire and perch in the winter time. The curtains I had made in this little ditzy floral print, which is really cottagey. The sofa I found for free on Facebook Marketplace, and it was old beat up Chesterfield, and I hauled it back home and had it reupholstered in this beautiful Warner House paisley, which is just so comfortable now to sit. The painting we bought in Savannah, Georgia at an antique shop there. It was just kind of in a corner up against a wall, and I just love the pinks and kind of greens in it, blues. A very sentimental piece that we've had for a long time. This table is a recent auction find that I just brought in really a couple months ago, and it's got this beautiful scallop design, but it's a great place. I like having lots of little tables. Just you can move them about, you can put set your drinks down on them. There's a lot in this room I'll show you. This table is actually just an old garden table. It's really rusty. It has a hole in the middle where you could put an umbrella, but I just usually cover it up with something. But I love it. I have this in here. The shelves were here. I painted a contrasting trim, but this was here just like it is, and I styled it with some old dried hydrangeas and an old, I believe it's a tobacco jar from, I think I got it in Williamsburg, Virginia. We lived in Virginia for a while, so I love having that out. And then the bust, I can't remember who it is. I think it's Diana. And yeah, just some little bits and pieces, candles, things. The chair is another auction find. It was actually just upholstered like this, and I just love the check so much. I'm just going to leave it as it is, even though it's a little frayed. I love that. The rug is this beautiful jute rug by Bertie Fortescue, and it's just a lovely design, really light, but hard wearing, nice to have in a family home, great for a cottage. I put lots of plates on the wall. There's quite a few in here. These are just some old blue and whites. They're a little bit stained. They have that beautiful patina, which I love. I also have some plates over on this wall. These are like a more brown pattern, and I just love how they go together. This is a beautiful silk lampshade by Chloe Johansson, and it's made from, I believe, like sari silk, and it's put in that gathered shade. Really beautiful. This is an old chest of drawers that I bought at auction, and I love the old brass hardware on it and the beautiful inlay. I mean, it's definitely seen better days, but I like things that are a bit worn. So the sofa is another thrifted piece that I got from an estate sale, and I just love the pink and white stripes. And I've just thrown on some cushions, an old American quilt. The cushions are made with an old Swiss Kelch fabric in this beautiful check and this beautiful stripe. And yeah, it's just, I'm changing cushions all the time, but I love these. This is an old kind of oval shaped coffee table. I have it styled with this rattan tray with a beautiful scalloped edge from a shop. She does these beautiful trays called Petite Pannier. And yeah, it just has some books, candles, knickknacks, things like that. Yeah. The light fixtures are like an old schoolhouse style. I got these from Spark and Bell, and they just have that lovely milky glass and that schoolhouse shape, which is so distinctive. So this is beautiful old weathered corner cupboard, which I bought at auction without having measured it. And it is basically a perfect fit, which makes me think it was really meant to be. And I hope, you know, if we ever leave here, it will fit in the next house because it is perfect for this spot. This is a pair of chairs that I did that I reupholstered in this beautiful Warner House fabric and put these are some French plates from a local lady who has a shop called Say Two, and she imports all these old French antiquities. So she's got a barn full of French finds. I tend to try and do more British, but my husband is half French, so we do have little French bits around. The table, which I'm using as a table, is actually an old baker's tray, and it would have been mahogany, I believe, but it's just been left outside for probably years, and I'm just using that as a little side table. And then the brass horse, it could have been a trophy, but I got this in Virginia. Very horsey there, and also fits in quite well here. This is a beautiful riverside landscape with the beautiful towpath alongside it, which reminds me of scenes close to where I grew up. This old pine cupboard, I think it was a baker's cupboard, where, but it could have been a larder or a kitchen cupboard. I love this beautiful old weathered pine, and I just fill it up with quilts and photo albums and games and puzzles and things you'd have here in the sitting room. Okay, so right next door is the dining room if you'd like to come have a look. Okay, so this is the dining room. And I guess the first thing to say is that it's papered in this beautiful trellis pattern, which is blue and green combination, which I really love. And this is an old painting of one of my husband's French ancestors, and she looks very pious and reflective there, and I kind of think of her saying her prayers, and I just think this is a lovely piece for a dining room where you give thanks and say grace before a meal. And this is where, we have our dining table, which is basically just an old trestle table, which is on old cast iron trestles. And it's got these really neat bentwood bistro chairs, which we got from my husband's parents, which was really nice. And this beautiful tablecloth is by Sarah K Designs, not me, Sarah K, but another very talented lady who does all kinds of nice homewares. I've done the curtains in a beautiful block print design by a British lady called Julia Brendel, and just love that pattern. This painting is another find that we picked up in Savannah, and I actually just bought it off a guy who was selling it. It's one of his grandmother's paintings. So I just thought it was such a beautiful still life. I just love it. This is just a low boy table that we've had over the years. It just seemed like a nice spot for it. And it's very battered and old, but very much beloved. No, I don't think I even knew that I was buying these. I think I was buying something at auction and it came in a lot of other things. And I think it was like a platter or something I was getting. And these happened to, I had bought these without knowing. And I felt like they needed a home somewhere. So I just put them here in the dining room, and they oversee all the festivities. The build-ins were here, and it was naturally just a lovely home for all of our crystal and for all the mismatched plates. I love using old blue and white or old green and white transferware or lusterware plates, and just have a mismatch. So it's just all stacked up there, leaning over to the side. So yeah, and then I love taxidermy, but my husband hates it, so it has to be really hidden away in here because we don't want to frighten anyone with it. This old oak painting is actually painted by a relative of my husband's, and it's just such a beautiful natural forest scene, which is really lovely. And this is like an old plan chest, or where an architect would have their plans, or a sort of surveyor, and it's basically where I keep all of my children's artwork because I just can't throw it away. So a lot of it gets hung up, but a lot of it just goes in these old drawers, and I literally have drawers and drawers of my kids' artwork in here, which is cute. This is just an old chair. We've had this as long as we've been together, and I just can't get rid of it, so I just keep moving it around, and it just goes from room to room, and there's always a spot for it. We always find a spot for it. Yeah, this is a little pair of lamps, very old, but yeah, they've got the pretty little gingham shade. So this pendant made with this beautiful linen striped shade was the first thing that I bought for the whole dining room. I just knew I wanted a dining table with this over it. And then everything else just came later, and there wasn't really any plan. But this was the one piece that I just love so much in this room. The rug was a gift from my in-laws, from my husband's family, and it just suits this room perfectly. This cupboard is an old schoolhouse cupboard, and it weighs about 1,000,000 pounds, and it's impossible to move, and it's all one piece. And it's where I have all the tablecloths and linens and little bits hidden away. But I just love this old schoolhouse cupboard. These are really funny pair of lamps with these adorable little cherub figures here, climbing up what looks like a fruit tree with a ladder, and then these beautiful scalloped linen shades I put on them, and yeah, they're quite fun in here. So these are just, I can't go into a charity shop and not buy, an old platter if I see one, and I've just got them lying around in stacks. I mean, some of them could go on the walls somewhere maybe, or, if we're having a dinner party or we're serving, well, I can just take my pick. I have so many. But yeah, they're just stacked up here for the moment. So this is the little sunroom. It's a tiny little room, but has great big personality. This is an old dresser, pine dresser, again with the old brass, which I just love, and more of the ironstone collection up there. The rug is a beautiful rug, beautiful scallop jute rug from Tate and Darby. Beautiful. She sources lots of beautiful natural rugs, natural fiber rugs. Here on the wall is some of my ironstone again. This old butcher's block is, it's an old French butcher's block, which my in-laws used to use when they were first married as their little kitchen table. Believe it or not, they sat at this. So it's got a very sweet history, and it's just a beautiful rustic old piece. The curtains in here are this beautiful kind of Indian-inspired block print, which was designed by Sophia Francis Studio. These iron curtain rods with the little iron finial, curved finial, are from Nigel Tyas. They're all handmade. They're so beautiful and so perfect for this cottage. One of my very favorite things about this house is the beautiful views. And if you look across the garden, out over the hedge, is the most wonderful view of the Cotswold countryside. And it is just a constant inspiration to all of us here at our home. If you'd like to follow me, I'd like to show you in my kitchen. Here we are in our cottage kitchen. So let me tell you, this is not my dream kitchen. However, when we moved in, I didn't really see the sense in tearing out cupboards and tearing out floors. And I just decided to make the most of what was already here, just maybe adding a little bit more warmth and character. And the first thing that I did is I changed the hardware to like a antique or a brass knobs and pulls, and I think that gives it some warmth in here. I added like a cafe curtain, and obviously I've got lots of plants and things, wood tones. I added some cupboards that are freestanding, old vintage cupboards, and I also like little lamps, and just tried to make it a little bit more characterful. I love to bake. I'm always baking with the kids, making muffins or cakes or cookies. And my husband is more of the meat and potatoes chef, but we do share kitchen duties. I added this border. Instead of painting, I love a white kitchen, but I did add this border in here. And we hung some freestanding cabinets or the plate rack just to give it a little bit more warmth. I found this table from a vintage reseller who has a shop locally to me, and it's perfect. I mean, we cram around it, but it's nice, and it's a lovely place to have our meals. I added the porcelain light fixture, and yeah, this is a garland of hens, bantam hens. So I love the warm wood tones. I added this glazed cupboard, and it's just freestanding, but it gives some extra storage without looking too fitted. I collect a lot of ironstone, which is kind of these pieces here, and they get kind of aged over time, and they have this darkening spots on them, and I just think they look really lovely. So I do have those all around the house. Okay, and this is the laundry room, which joins through from the kitchen, and this is where all the work gets done, where I, wash stains constantly out of clothes and do the laundry, hang things up to dry. And then it's where the pantry is and the refrigerator. So it's just kind of the working heart of the kitchen, the downstairs. Okay, and this is the boot room or mud room, which I did a really fun wallpaper in here. And this is where we just come in, throw our shoes in the basket. In the wintertime, it's very cluttered with coats and raincoats, but this time of year, it's just hats, picnic blankets, and, the brushes and things that we use around the house. This is an old telephone bench. It used to have like a little table on it, but I took that off, and this is where you would sit on the telephone and make your calls back in the day. So now it's just a place where the kids can sit down and take their shoes on and off, and yeah, it's usually piled up with things. Okay, so we're gonna head upstairs. Let me show you. Come on up. These two old crests were from the coronation of Pope Pius in 1854, and they were hung up in an old French village hall to commemorate him becoming Pope. And I found these in a local antique store and just thought they were really beautiful, so they're hanging there. I was talking about that funny design, and some of the rooms are all joined up. Two of my children's rooms are connecting, so I'll take you through and you can see those. This is my daughter Daisy's room. She's the only girl in the house, so it's very feminine and floral. I love this wallpaper by Sophia Harpley. This is my daughter's bed. It has this beautiful linen canopy and this pink and green gingham. She has these lovely bed linens. The duvet cover is in this beautiful green leafy print by Sarah Kirk Designs, and she has the little gingham pillowcase embroidered with her name, and that's from a local maker here in the UK, Chateau Matilda. And this is her dollhouse. Inside, it's the little mouse house. Instead of little dolls, they're little mice living in here, and it's really cute. This beautiful chest is just a very weathered piece that we brought over. I bought it in Luckett's, Virginia, at the Luckett store. One of my all-time favorite places to find antiques in Virginia. The bobbin spool shelf is an old vintage shelf that I sourced from a lovely lady who does all the vintage fairs here, and I got this from her. This lovely little chair, this tiny child-size chair, button-back chair, is in a Jasper print, which is really pretty, and it's a great little child-size vintage chair. The window treatments are in this billowy balloon-style Roman shade in this beautiful Warner House Acorns fabric. So my daughter's room connects into my son's room, which is great. It's really lovely. At night, you can hear them talking to each other through their rooms as they fall asleep. This is an old pine cot. We call it a crib. Over here, they call it a cot. It has a lovely little canopy by Tori Murphy Textiles in this wide, beautiful stripe with the little pom-poms. Over the bed are these little Viking ships, which are really sweet. And they dance around. The chest of drawers is just an old painted chest of drawers. This print is from a local artist here. Her name's Tabby Booth. I love the cowboy boots. All my boys love wearing cowboy boots, so this is such a sweet, nostalgic picture to have in their room. The bookshelf we've had this since our eldest was little. It's by Oof in New York City. They do these amazing modular shelves. You can just fill it full of books. The little lantern here is by a company in the Netherlands, and the lantern, you can switch out the scenes, and they have so many beautiful artists. You can change it with the seasons to reflect, you know, different scenes of childhood, some that are really sweet and remind me of where we live here in the English countryside. This is an old vintage sign where someone who was doing script, it's an old French sign. I drove all the way to the coast to pick it up for £15, and then I spent unknowingly an insane amount to frame it in this old frame. But it's just a lovely touch in the boys' room. So the guest room is over here on the other side, kind of tucked away. So follow me around the corner. So this is the guest room, and I bought these beds in America, old cherry beds with the little finials, 4-poster finials. I painted them myself because they were kind of in bad condition. They were quite old. And I just love them, and I think they're charming in a cottage guest bedroom. I always think my guests like sleeping like Ricky and Lucy from I Love Lucy, and they're 2 separate beds. But I just think they're really charming in these beautiful cottagey floral prints. All of the bedding is from a company called Sosuk, and they just do lovely, lovely linens. This old painting is from a vintage fair, and this cupboard is actually a pot cupboard. It's where you would store your heavy pots, but I'm using it as a old bedside table. The wallpaper is actually a Sandberg design, and they're actually, if you look closely, they're dandelions, but they've done them in this pink and blue colorway, which is really, really charming. And I love that it's paying homage to the simple, lowly dandelion. It looks really lovely in here, I think. And then the curtains I bought at a charity shop. They were, you know, somebody didn't need them anymore, and I found them, and they work perfectly in this room. So, okay, the last room I'd like to show you is our bedroom, our main bedroom. So come with me and have a look. Okay, welcome into our bedroom. This is the main bedroom, the biggest bedroom. I never really have any design plan, and this room is really evidence of that. I really like mixing patterns and different textures, and I definitely don't match things, so it's very mismatched in here, which I really like. And I've done a wallpaper in kind of blues and brown. It's like a pomegranate theme, but then with the canopy, I've gone with a heavier but striped floral in this cream with pinks and greens. The wallpaper in here really stumped me for a long time, and it was one of the last rooms that I wallpapered. I ended up just ordering a bunch of samples, and this one I never really thought would be the front runner, but it actually turned out being my favorite. So I do recommend looking at those samples in person, because you never know which one is going to pop out at you. And I'm really glad I went with this pattern. It's really bold but moody, and it's a perfect fit for this space. Just talking about mixing patterns and prints, I just really loved this paisley in a very kind of neutral color, with this paired with this ruffle top in a pinstripe from Tightly and Mar, and I just love the way it mixes together with the pattern and the wallpaper that we already have. Home to me means being with my family, and whether that's my husband and my children or my extended family when my parents and my brother come to visit and I have more of my family around me. A home is a place that should just be filled with love. Thank you so much, Homeworthy, for coming to visit me today. It's been so lovely having you. Unfortunately, my children are home from school now, so I really need to go and get those snack plates made. But thanks again, and come back anytime. Take care. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.